Coming home early from work should be a nice surprise, right? For me, it was the start of a nightmare. I'm John, and for 10 years, I thought I had the perfect life with my wife Sarah. We had our dream house, two beautiful kids, and a love I thought was unshakable. I was a software engineer working long hours to provide for my family, but I never minded. It was all for them. Sarah was a stay-at-home mom, the heart of our home, or so I thought. That Tuesday started like any other. A morning kiss, a rushed breakfast, and an "I love you" as I headed out the door. But around 2 p.m. my project lead sent everyone home. The servers were down for unexpected maintenance. I was thrilled. I could surprise Sarah, maybe take the kids to the park when they got home from school. I remember smiling the whole drive home, imagining the look on her face. As I pulled into our quiet suburban street, I saw a car I didn't recognize, a sleek black sports car parked right in front of our house. My heart skipped a beat. Maybe it was a friend of Sarah's, but it felt off. I parked my own car down the street, a strange sense of dread creeping over me. I decided to walk up to the house quietly, not wanting to disturb them if they had company. The front door was slightly ajar. That was the first real alarm bell. Sarah was always meticulous about locking the doors. I pushed it open gently. The house was silent, but not the peaceful silence I was used to. This was a heavy, charged silence. I called out, "Sarah, honey, I'm home early." No answer. My voice sounded weak, swallowed by the stillness. I walked through the living room. Everything was tidy, just as she always kept it. A half-finished cup of coffee sat on the counter. But then I saw it. On the floor by the staircase, a man's leather jacket was tossed carelessly. It definitely wasn't mine. My blood ran cold. My mind started racing, trying to find a rational explanation. A repairman? A salesman? But why was the house so quiet? Why was the door unlocked? My feet felt like lead as I started up the stairs. Each step creaked, amplifying the pounding in my chest. With every step, the dread grew, thick and suffocating. I didn't want to know. A part of me screamed to turn back, to just get in my car and drive away, to pretend I had never come home. But I couldn't. I had to know the truth. As I reached the top of the stairs, I heard it, a low murmur of voices from our bedroom. And then, a sound that shattered my world into a million pieces. Sarah's laugh. But it wasn't her usual joyful laugh. This was a soft, intimate giggle that I hadn't heard in years. It was a sound meant for someone else. My hand trembled as I reached for the doorknob. I took a deep breath, preparing for the worst, but nothing can truly prepare you for that kind of betrayal. I pushed the door open. And there they were. Sarah and a man I'd never seen before, on our bed. The bed we'd shared for a decade. The shock was like a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs. Time seemed to freeze. Their surprised faces, the guilt flashing in their eyes, the rumpled sheets. It's all burned into my memory. Sarah scrambled to cover herself, her face a mask of horror. "John! What? What are you doing home?" she stammered, as if my presence was the crime. The man, a stranger in my home, in my life, just stared at me, frozen. I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. All I could do was stand there, the architect of a life that had just been demolished before my very eyes. The silence that followed was deafening, filled with unspoken words, broken promises, and the deafening sound of my heart breaking. In that single moment, everything changed. My wife, my home, my future, it all became a lie. I finally found my voice, but it was a stranger's voice, cold and empty. "Get out," I said, looking at the man. "Get out of my house, now!" There was no shouting, no rage, just a hollow command. He scrambled for his clothes, avoiding my gaze, and rushed past me out the door. I didn't watch him go. My eyes were locked on Sarah. She started crying, trying to explain, pleading with me. "John, please, It's not what it looks like, but it was exactly what it looked like. The evidence was undeniable. The words tumbled out of her mouth. Excuses about being lonely, about me working too much, about feeling neglected. Each word was another twist of the knife. I had worked tirelessly to build a perfect life for her, for us, and she had thrown it all away for a cheap thrill. I told her to stop. I couldn't listen to it. I walked back downstairs, sank onto the couch, and put my head in my hands. I felt nothing and everything all at once. The love, the trust, the future I had envisioned. It had all evaporated. That night she slept in the guest room. The next day I told her she had to leave. The kids were at her mother's, thankfully shielded from the immediate fallout. The conversation was the hardest of my life. She cried, she begged, she promised it would never happen again. But the trust was gone, shattered beyond repair. How could I ever look at her the same way? How could I ever sleep in our bed again without seeing that image? The weeks that followed were a blur of lawyers, paperwork, and heartbreaking conversations. Telling my kids their mommy and daddy weren't going to live together anymore was gut-wrenching. I tried to be strong for them, but at night, alone in the silent house, I would break down. I was mourning the loss of my wife, yes, but also the loss of the life I thought I had, the future I had so carefully planned. But slowly, very slowly, things started to get better. I focused on my kids, pouring all my love and energy into them. They became my reason for getting up in the morning. I started therapy, which helped me process the anger and the grief. It wasn't about forgiving Sarah. It was about healing myself. I learned that her betrayal was a reflection of her own issues, not a measure of my worth. It's been 2 years now. The divorce is final. I have the kids most of the time, and our house is slowly starting to feel like a home again. Our home. It's filled with laughter and pizza nights and bedtime stories. Coming home early from work that day felt like the end of the world, and in a way, it was. It was the end of a lie, but it was also a new beginning. I'm stronger now, more in tune with myself and what truly matters. I'm building a new life, an honest life, for me and my children. The scar is still there, but it no longer hurts to the touch. It's just a reminder of a battle I survived, a battle that ultimately set me free. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you're going through something similar, please know you're not alone, and it does get better. If you found this story meaningful, I'd really appreciate it if you'd like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content. See you next time.